believe that in order to do this, and the method by which we do this is by empowering African professionals to be able to, grow their careers by helping them get into top MBA programs. Basically, in Lean, we leverage the power of community to help you get into MBA programs that would help you achieve your most honorable dream. Quick stats about MBA for Africa. We expect over 10 schools. This session will be running from August to November and at the same time every week, Saturdays by 8 p.m. Over the past 2 years, we've had about 13 MBA programs, and John Hopkins Carey Business School has been a trusted partner. They've been here with us from the very first MBA for Africa session. So thank you, Michael.
Happy to do it.
And the members have gotten admissions to this school. So keep in mind. So great. For today's session, we have with us two very distinguished individuals from John Hopkins Carey Business School, and they'll be talking about both the Carey MBA program as well as nailing a strong MBA admissions application. Just before we dive into it, I would like to introduce them. Michael is the Senior Assistant Director of Admissions for Recruitment at John Hopkins Carey Business School. He is the lead recruiter and admissions officer for International, JD MBA, and MD MBA for the John Hopkins MBA program. He's a Baltimore native and has spent the whole of his career working in higher education in the city and has worked across all areas of student experience, both undergraduate and graduate school through admissions, student affairs, registration, and administration. Currently, he plans and participates in recruitment events online across the country, across the world, while guiding applicants through John Hopkins MBA application process. His particular international focus are Latin America, South Central Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. And he's currently working to increase the involvement of Carey alumni in the admission recruitment process. So welcome, Michael. Great.
Thanks very much.
Awesome. I see Ola has joined us. Ola is an alumnus of the Carey MBA program, completing his MBA program earlier this year. Ola colors outside the lines and tends to view ideas in a continuum rather than discretely. He possesses high-level conceptual skills and is rather comfortable with ambiguity and projects that require innovation and planning. A performance-driven professional pursuing opportunities in product strategy, venture investing, and strategic consulting. He has demonstrated success in improving revenue and maintaining partnerships. Passionate about Africa's development, currently Ola is an investment accelerator venture fellow with Dream VC, a launchpad for the next generation of African investors. And Ola also manages the land program at Lane. So welcome, Ola. Great. So if you can have you basically dive into the session, I'll stop sharing my screen now so you can.
So I'm going to talk about our admissions process. And while I'm talking about that, I will talk about how you can make the most of any admissions process, what parts are you have control over the most and what parts you don't have control over. So kind of what you can worry about, what you can't worry about. And while I'm doing that, Ola, you can jump in and put in your point of view as an applicant and as a student as we go through that, okay? So you're ready to apply. Am I sharing okay now?
Yeah, it's fine. You can see your screen.
Okay, great, perfect. Yeah. So you're ready to apply. The elements of our application are your transcripts. And for us, for students who went to school outside of the United States, we require that to come through a course-by-course credential evaluation. Most people know that as a WES, evaluation, but there are other agencies that do that we take them from. Some schools require that, some schools don't. Some schools require that at different parts of the process. So when you're going through the process and with different schools, you want to make sure you're aware of what's required and what's required, not required, particularly for different schools. So I advise people to kind of have a chart, an Excel spreadsheet with all the different kinds of requirements there could be, and then the schools that are listed that you're going to apply to, and you can compare them quickly of what the requirements are. So then the next bit we require is your resume. We require 2 essays, 1 letter of recommendation, the GMAT or GRE scores in some cases and not in other cases. And I'm going to go into details as to how these all compare with other schools in a second. And TOEFL or IELTS scores or PTE scores for non-native English speakers. Now we consider a lot of countries, and most of the countries I see that were listed from you all, we consider those native English countries. So you would not have to submit those scores. Other schools, again, may be different. So if you went to school within the United States, some of you may have, we require transcripts directly from the school, or your unofficial transcripts as you're going through the admissions process, only directly if you're admitted, where you attempted 15 or more credits. So say you flunked out of an entire school and then went to another school and finished, we still require those other credits. Again, compare all the policies of the schools you're applying to. From outside of the United States, again, this is the course-by-course credential evaluation I was talking about. These agencies verify your credentials, make sure your transcripts are legit. They convert each class's grades to a US equivalent letter grade, and then they convert the final GPA to a US GPA. And it's not just a mathematical conversion. We could do that, but they take into account what the educational system is like in your country and what the curve is like. So often the GPA is actually a bit higher than it would be if you just did a mathematical. So it's one of the reasons it's to your advantage. And it can be a pain in the neck. Unfortunately, it is something the university is requiring, and there's nothing I can do about that. So it's just something that has to be done. The resume or CV, we prefer 2 or more years of work experience. It is possible to get into our program with less than 2 years of work experience or right out of undergrad. It's a bit more difficult, and we have a small number of spaces for people in that situation. So for people in that situation, you should apply only in probably the first round, the early action or the first round. Don't wait till the second or third round, because those spaces are limited. And we would emphasize more the GMAT or GRE, your undergraduate grades, and we would look for work-like experience like internships. For us, the resume, I personally don't care if you go over 1 page. I want to see you do the best in highlighting all your experiences and accomplishments. Other schools, again, look on their website. They may say, we only want a 1-page resume. I know that a lot of people think that's a rule, and maybe it is, but I think it's more important for us to see your accomplishments and share those. Application essays, we have 2 required essays. We do not take statements of purpose. The first essay is a standardized topic. It's actually now kind of a statement of purpose. because so many people wanted to write one. The second, you get to choose from a menu of topics and then respond to them. Every school is different. So please look into the schools, and really, this is one of the things that you can and should take your time on. You should be really putting some effort into these essays. I know it's a pain in the neck, but you should be writing very different essays for every school you apply to. And because this is one of the things you have a lot of control over. I mean, not like your grades as an undergraduate, that's done. You can't redo it. The essays, this is your time to shine and really write something that's convincing. We do read them, and they can make a difference. They give us topics for you to to talk to you about in the interview, and they can be persuasive as to why we want you to come into our program. So really think about what you're writing about, and don't assume it's just a checkbox and something you have to do really quickly and it doesn't matter. It does matter. Letter of recommendation. So for us, when you are doing the application, all you do is give us the person's name and email address, and then they get an email that has them fill out a brief evaluation form for you, and then they can upload the letter at the end. This is something else that surprisingly you have some control over. It's perfectly acceptable for you to sort of brief and prepare that person to write that letter of recommendation. You can have coffee with them, have a chat with them, tell them, what your goals are for the MBA program, what your professional goals are, remind them of things you've done in the workplace, projects you've completed, and great things about you that can be on their mind when they're writing the letter and doing the evaluation. Perhaps things you're going to say about yourself in your essays, or things you're going to say about yourself in your resume, things you're going to say about yourself in the interview. It's not cheating. As long as you don't actually write the letter yourself, you're not doing anything unethical or wrong by preparing them to write the letter. For us, we only require one letter. You can have a second, no more. Again, with different schools, there's going to be different needs. Some schools are going no letters, some schools require 2, some schools require 3. It's all different. A little tip, as soon as you start the application, you can put in that recommender and save it, and then they will get that email. So well before you are ready to submit the application, they will get that email and be able to start working on it. So there's less of a delay between when you submit it and we get the recommendation or the deadline. Ola, anything you want to add before I move along?
Yeah, just be aware of cultural differences. As Africans, letter recommendations tend to be a bit dull. There are just this little cultural thing. So I always say that choose people that are your cheerleaders, that people that are looking to move forward, people that believe in you and will respond effusively and enthusiastically, especially if schools reach out. So it doesn't give them any cause for pause. Because I feel like in the American system, they tend to take letter recommendations very, very seriously.
Yeah, I will add that a great letter of recommendation can really help you, but a poor letter of recommendation in the sense that it's not well written or general, we're not going to hold that against you. Now, if they say bad things about you, we may hold that against you, but if they're just not a good writer or it's kind of general, we won't hold that against you. But a great one, again, that can be something very positive. I've had letters of recommendations that said mention projects, that the great projects that the applicant worked on that the applicant never mentioned that made a difference. Talked about skills that the applicant had that the applicant didn't mention that made a huge difference in their application. So that's something to think about. Standardized test scores. This is on everybody's mind right now, GMAT or GRE. This is something else that you have a lot of control on. You can work on, prepare for, and do hopefully very well in and make a great difference. You can opt out of it in some cases if you have 3 years of full-time work experience, professional work experience after your bachelor's degree has been received, and you have a 3.0 undergraduate GPA on a US scale that's determined by that course-by-course credential evaluation. Or you have both a bachelor's and a master's degree and 3 years of work experience, then the GPA doesn't matter. So if you meet those qualifications, you don't have to submit a GMAT or a GRE, but you should consider whether you want to. Even if you can waive it, you might decide, hey, I could do really well on the GMAT or GRE. Maybe I should take it and submit the score, and that will really set my application above the others, not only for admission, but for scholarships. So something to think about for us and for other schools. That's one of the other things that you now, unlike grades, work experience, which are all kind of set, you have some control over. Language tests, TOEFL, PTE, and IELTS are the ones we take. We require that unless you are from a country and went to school where English is not the primary language of instruction. We don't care which of those three you take. They're the only ones we take. There's a list on our website of which countries we consider English speaking. A lot of the sub-Saharan African countries are what we consider English speaking. Nigeria, Ghana, off the top of my head, are English speaking for us. So, and they may not be for other countries or other schools. So something else you want to double check on and not assume. And then after you submit your application and it is complete, we will invite you for an interview. Interviews are obviously going to be through Zoom, not in person. They take approximately 45 minutes, and they are like professional work interviews with what we consider business attire is suit for a man and the equivalent for ladies. And that is the essence of most MBA applications. There are some small differences between schools. And again, I encourage you to do good research on applications and not assume, because your goal is for each school you apply to submit a complete application when you submit it. You don't want anyone from the admissions office coming back to you and say, there's something wrong with your application. You have to fix this or do this thing you missed or whatever, because it's just going to delay things. It could push you into another round or just create issues that you don't want to create. You want your admissions process to go as smoothly and painlessly as possible. Anything you want to add to that, Ola?
Oh yeah, you said most of it all. For the interviews particularly, think very carefully as to why you want to go to Hopkins specifically. Have your reasons clearly articulated in your mind so you can deliver it. And I know as far as when I took it, get ready for some interesting bits to discuss your experience. Michael will probe into those experiences, and kind of like your strategic mindset, but it's nothing too difficult. It's nothing that you cannot handle.
So something that comes up a lot, scholarships. When you apply for our program, at least, you are automatically considered for scholarships. There's no separate applications. Scholarships are awarded at the time of admission. And you can find details about all the scholarships, which are listed here at our website under MBA scholarships. As you can see, there are a lot of different ones. You can, the one that most people get awarded is the Dean Scholarship, but there's possible to get more than one scholarship, and we mix and match and try to get you the best award possible. So that is really it for applications. And now we can take your questions. Any questions? We're here to answer.
Oh, by the way, that's the school in the background, the tall glass building on the right in Michael's back.
Yeah, right behind my head.
Yeah.
We are in a office building in a neighborhood called Harbor East, which is the business core of Baltimore. And we have 6 floors, including the top floor of this building. It's now called the Franklin Templeton Building, which is an investment company. It used to be the Legg Mason Building, but Legg Mason was bought by Franklin Templeton. Business in action.
Great.
Morgan, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you so much for the session and for your presentation, Michael. Just before we dive into Q&A, I was wondering if you could share more around, the Carey MBA program and, the concentrations. I know Carey has a flexible MBA program with about, 3 online concentrations. Just if you could, talk more about the MBA program.
Sure. So the full-time MBA, we don't have concentrations, we have pathways. We have the HTI pathway, which is Health Technology and Innovation, and the ALI pathway, which is Analytics, Leadership, and Innovation. So that program is in-person only, and it's 2 years, the full-time program, and you can read about the full-time program here. And then the part-time program, which is the flexible MBA, that is online only, except there is a opportunity if you want to do some very short residencies. They're not required, but you can come here to do residencies. And they have 8 specializations. So this is the part-time program, the flexible MBA. And those specializations are, I'm gonna have to check because they changed. They're business analytics and risk management, digital marketing, entrepreneurial marketing, entrepreneurship, innovation and technology, financial management, healthcare management, innovation and technology, investments, and public and private sector leadership. So you can do, international students can do the Flex MBA because it's online, and it is it's designed to be done between 3 and 6 years. It's up to you. That's why we call it Flex. So you can, if you do it full time, it's generally done in 3 years, and then you can do it a little slower if work demands or other demands come up. But that's one of the advantages of that program, the flexibility.
Thank you. Sam?
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Sam.
Sam here. I know we've come a long way now. It's almost 3 years.
Yes, sir.
I mean, for the people joining the call, I wanted to provide a bit of context so you guys understand that Michael is part of us. I can beat my chest to say that. Michael and the John Hopkins University, especially the Carey Business School, were one of the very first schools that we reached out to out of the blues. I believe so, Ola. I don't know if you were already there by the time we reached out. And the school has been constantly being a part of our MBA for Africa since 2020. I know Ola's had a great experience as well in there. And at the end of the day, we have an ongoing relationship going forward that we hope would only continue to grow as we even look to expand our reach to other African countries. Another quick comment I want to make here is, for many people, we do understand that there's often other schools that you have preference for. But I can tell you that you will go, you won't miss it. You won't do anything wrong by picking John Hopkins. I am saying it, and I'm confident about that fact. So as you think and as you listen, feel free to open the floor up and ask questions. Ask questions so when Michael sees your face again, it could be, a little bit more nicer to you, just because you're part of the main family. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that's what he would do, but make sure you put your face out there because it's always part of networking.
Other Samuel, if you mean we would not penalize you for a test score waiver. We wouldn't offer a test score waiver if that puts you at a disadvantage, if that's what you mean. You're still...
Michael, are you still speaking? Hi, Tumi. You can unmute your mic and ask your question.
And Tumi, you should be your genuine self in the essays, but definitely there's a balancing act between going too personal and perhaps straying outside. You want to keep it you can be personal, but keep it focused on how that personal part reflects or has guided your professional life. So yes, be vulnerable and speak of your personal journey, but how that has definitely how that has reflected and made an impact on your professional choices and your career choices or your educational choices. Because that's what we're ultimately looking for.
If I might also add, I think the key is relevance, right? So it tied directly to the purpose. It's a business program, it's a business application, and don't lose perspective, basically. So just be able to tie it into either your larger goals and aspirations, as a form of motivation or justification, or just how it has changed your perspectives as a person and how it informs your decision making somehow. But you really need to kind of keep it narrow and focused.
Right, thank you. Hi, Ola, I was wondering if you could share on why you ended up choosing John Hopkins over other programs.
Okay, I think for me, I had clarity about what I wanted in a program. At the time I applied, I was clear I wanted to do a degree that had something to do with analytics. So first and foremost, I basically chose by curriculum. And when I saw the Hopkins program by accident, there was this Wall Street Journal article that came up. And thanks to Google targeting me, right? So I kind of saw how the program was designed, and I tend to dig into curriculum and do like a depth of research. I remember thinking to myself that if I were going to design a program in 2020, it would look like this. So for me, the relevance was simple. You heard the term big data. So there's a lot of data being generated in the world right now. And it's not as easy to convert that data into insights or strategy or something useful. So that was what I wanted. So I felt like the program that was its clear value proposition as in terms of being a program. So that was the first layer. The second layer was, of course, the school's reputation for rigor and application. So now that I've done it, one thing I particularly enjoyed, I'm a very practical person. I don't like theories that I cannot apply. My mind really rejects any lack of application. So that was the other thing I really loved. Like, we constantly applied ourselves, as whether that's an ethos of all business programs, I don't know. But I know that I must have done maybe 12 to 15 projects, either as part of classwork or on the side while in school for my entire 2-year program. And that made it very enjoyable for me. So those are some of the reasons why I chose the program.
Great, thanks, Ola. Ngozi, do you want to unmute your mic and ask your question?
I want to go back up to Odeoye. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I was going to call him out.
He asked about work experiences that stand out, how to make it stand out as a tech graduate. We're not looking for a certain type of educational or work background to successfully apply to the MBA. We have people who come from every kind of work and educational background that you could imagine in our MBA program. So not just what you would consider stereotypical business people. So people from tech, from engineering, government, even entertainment or nonprofits, you name it. So you can do it. And what we're looking for is people who in those areas have been leaders. That doesn't necessarily mean you had the title of manager, but that you've shown initiative and even perhaps, it could have been leading one project or taking the lead on something in some way.
Making friends or things that did not.
People who've worked on big projects, people who've worked on teams. So that could be from any profession. That's the kind of thing we're looking for.
Ngozi, you can.
Ngozi.
Okay. Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Okay, so my question is, some business schools offer, let's say internship programs, and they assign coaches to guide their students. Okay, does Carey Business School also offer that?
Everyone gets a career coach that works very closely with them. And you start working with your career coach even before you start in the program. So in the spring and summer, before you report to class in the fall, you'll be working with your career coach individually and in groups. And one of the things the career coach works with you to do is that work through the whole process of getting an internship for the summer between years 1 and 2. And that's doing an internship is required. And Ola can speak to you about the 4 experiential learning projects, which you do 1 per semester, which I describe as being like small internships being built into the program. And he can perhaps also speak about his experience with his career coach.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. So for the career coach, yes, I had a career coach. It's they're placed by discipline, right? What you do is you work together on your resume, on your messaging, on your
Storytelling.
Storytelling, and then connecting with people, on your networking. And then they bring leads to you as well. So they brought several to me over the course of the program. So that's how it works. But I'm not sure if that's the substance of your question. You said something about internships. What exactly?
Yes, that's it. You answered it. Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you.
No worries.
Great, thank you. Vivian, do you want to ask your question? But before Vivian asks her question, everyone, please, can you fill the attendance sheet? If you want waivers, please fill the attendance sheet. Thank you. Vivian?
Good evening, Michael. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for the opportunity to share this with us. I have 3 questions on the chat, so I'll just take it one step at a time. The first question has to do with rewarding previous studies. Is there room for rewarding previous studies? And
Hi, Vivian. Please, we can't hear you very well. Can you
hear me now?
Do you mean in the sense of transferring credits?
Yes.
We do not, except for up to maybe 4 credits at most as electives. You cannot transfer credits into the program. You have to do all the core and required courses that are part of the MBA.
Okay. It's then when you have candidates or students that are not very passionate about majoring in STEM program, what are the disadvantages for them?
Well, our MBA is not a STEM program, but most of our specialty master's degrees, like the BAR Business Analytics and Risk Management Masters that Ola is doing now, is a STEM program.
Your risk is mainly career, basically the opportunity, the chance you get to do the H-1B, what do you call it, the lottery. So the work visa in the US is a lottery. So the STEM just increases the time frame, but also there are very tight requirements around STEM in terms of your previous background and your educational focus. So basically the STEM option is not necessarily automatic, but that's really the core reason why the STEM thing is being used as a strategy to increase the chances or the opportunities to do the lottery.
Okay, thank you very much. Ola is extremely clear. Then finally, with the pandemic and the disruptions that we've seen so far, for John Hopkins, I'm sure that there are a lot of strategies that have been adopted. So to spur up that leadership in students, what is John Hopkins doing differently for this?
I can try and answer this one if you don't mind. So the first thing is just technology integration. So you heard about the online being done purely online. So for instance, there are certain courses that are done hybrid, some are virtual, some are in person. So there's a lot of emphasis on just virtual and in-person teams, because that's probably mirror how it's going to look like in real life, right? That's one. So I talked about applying myself, right? So I remember a project we did in my first year. It was for a robot drone company. They were using it in research, but they wanted to see how they could take it into commercialize it in the real world, right? It wasn't straightforward. It wasn't a straightforward thing, right? So we had to create the specifications or the context for how their product will succeed outside of the academic context that it was currently working in. So it meant that I had to research and understand things like farming management information systems. I had to understand other big players in the agri space. Then I had to think through not only how the product will message. So for instance, what do I mean by that? Farmers are not very big on tech per se, especially when they are older and used to using their instincts. So what we suggested, now I'm giving a practical example. We said that you had to message this product like you would message eyeglasses or hearing aids. You had to message it like a prop, but not like something that would take over the whole decision-making process. So this is the value that came from not only just studying marketing in class and just doing STPs, 4Ps, and a case study, right? We were constantly meeting challenges in the real world. I can give you tons of examples. My ethics class, I thought ethics would be boring and we'll be considering philosophical issues. We did, but we were constantly writing on ethical challenges, looking at it from so many angles, cutting it, because these are things you will meet. So that emphasis on what is happening now and happening in the real world, right? And then finally, technology is changing everything, right? So we have an AI class. I was explaining to someone now that a lot of startups are saying they use AI to do that. And it sounds mysterious. Oh my God, you're using AI, problem solved. But it's not as simple and straightforward as it seems. There are questions I know that I can ask you, right? That, okay, this thing, has it met, because technology, even in its use, has at this point certain blind spots, and it also creates challenges as well. So I know the right questions to ask, right? Because the thing that is creating that disruption is actually technology. And the focus on analytics and on, to a certain extent, technology prepares you, like, honestly, I am very confident I can sit in a meeting in any organization and quickly understand the context of that organization and kind of like even kind of come up with a pathway forward, basically. So there lies the answer to your question.
Thank you very much, Ola.
Rachel asked about scholarships with a stipend. The Carey Business Fellows, which everyone is automatically considered for. It's highly competitive. We only award up to 8 per year. If you happen to get that, well, the first step in that is if you're considered for that, you'll get a second interview after you're interviewed by me with the Associate Dean of Student Services, who is my boss's boss's boss. And if you're awarded Carey Business Fellows, you get full tuition scholarship plus a $19,000 per year stipend. So that is the only way to get a scholarship with a stipend. And I thought you could put files in chat in Zoom, because I could share the essays. So I'm going to cut and paste them, which will be a little bulky.
Hi, Zoom
but
user.
here they are.
Thank you for that, Michael. Hi, Zoom user, do you want to unmute your mic? Please, can you also tell us your name and try to rename yourself as well?
Oh, yes, so sure. My name is Etuk Emmanuel. Just have 2 very quick questions. In relationship to the essay, and the other question, relates directly to the scholarship. So for the essay, right, can you, give some pointers on what the business school is looking out for in the essay? Yeah, we have the generic understanding, but we know, for example, a Stanford would like to have an entrepreneurship-minded candidate. What's that distinguishing factor for Carey Business School? And then for the scholarship as well, same question. What do you look out for and say this is a top candidate that qualifies for a scholarship?
So for scholarships, we use the same factors in that we use for admission. So everything in the application that we use for admission, we use for determining scholarships. We also, that's officially. And then we also use things that, like, where you're from. And the economy and exchange rates, where you're from, because obviously we don't want to a smaller degree, because we don't want to offer someone admission in an MBA program that there's no way that they could possibly afford, because the exchange rate is so ridiculous that there's no way that they could come to our program. So I just put in the chat box, by the way, the first essay question. That's the one that everyone has to write. So you can see it is a bit of a statement of purpose now. We finally succumbed to people wanting to write a statement of purpose and gave you sort of that opportunity. And then the other, for the second essay, you have a choice of 4 topics. And it doesn't want me to let me cut and paste them because I guess it's too much text. So let's see. Okay, it's letting me do the first 2 and then the second 2. So really what are we looking for in the essays? We're looking for you having, the candidate having really thought about themselves, their career aspirations, how they're going to have a self-awareness, how they're going to make their career aspirations happen, that they're realistic about that you understand, and the whole application process in general, that you understand what an MBA is, that you'd be surprised how many people apply to an MBA and not really get what an MBA is, or what the curriculum is, or any of that, or really, and what the MBA is going to add to their career, and why they want an MBA besides someone told them you should go for an MBA because that's the next step in your career. You've got to have more to your answer than that. You really have to have a good understanding of why and some specific skills and other things that it's going to bring to you, and an idea. We're not going to hold you to a specific career path, but a good idea of what your career path is going to be. Honestly, the idea that you're coming to an MBA program to figure out what your career path is going to be is not an acceptable answer anymore. You really have to have a pretty good idea of what your career path is going to be. That may change, actually, and sometimes it does in MBA programs. People get exposed to industries and ideas that fascinate them, and they say, oh my gosh, I actually wanted to do that instead of what I thought I wanted to do. And that's fine. But saying I have no idea what I want to do and I want to find that out in the MBA, that's not going to cut it. So yeah, I hope that kind of gave you an idea. We really want to see that you are really at a really thoughtful place in your life, and especially when it comes to your career, and have really thought all this through. And we want you to, especially for the schools you're applying to, you should really be sure that they're a good match for you, and that you're aware, you've done your research, and that you think that they're going to be a good place for you. We don't want you to come here and be unhappy. It's not just about us being sure you're a good fit for us and you're going to be a good student. You need to be sure of the same. You're going to be here for 2 years, and you don't want to be sad about that decision. So it's a mutual thing, and so we want to understand that you've done the research and done it in a way that's going to mean that you are going to be satisfied with your decision if you come, and that's a big part of all of this. I kind of said that in a stumbling way, but that's something you should really be aware of. And when you're doing your research on all the schools you apply to, it's a lot. I know it's a lot to think of, but keep that in your mind. You're going to be there for 2 years, and it's not just about where somebody said you should go to school or ranking or something else. There's other things for you to consider about those 2 years.
If I may, people asking about the profile. Hopkins as an institution, I've discovered two things about. One is they encourage people to be horizontal. So to a certain extent, engineer, marketer is all the same, potato, potato. To a certain extent, be someone that it kind of encourages you to challenge yourself. So just be yourself. And honestly, people come from all sorts of backgrounds. If you're a non-traditional applicant in quotes, Hopkins is probably a place you should apply to, because you're not looking for cookie and cutter business people. They're just looking for people who are very curious. That's the first thing you'll notice. They're very, very curious people. So, and the way you will know that you're a curious person, it's not that you say that you're curious, it's that you've done things. So curious people do things. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is that you are willing to put yourself in new or challenging situations. That's another thing I'll say. Like, if you can articulate those two things to a very large extent, you're going to start to show fit for the school.
Right. Thanks, Ola. Everybody, please don't forget to fill out the attendance form. Quick question from Liza. She asked if there are any plans to make the MBA at Carey STEM program at some point.
There are, Ola and I were talking about this on the phone before this. There are not that I've been made aware of.
Right. But just to chime in on that, 93% of full-time MBA grads at Carey accepted full-time offers from 2022. So just know that your post-MBA employment opportunities are not limited.
For the past 2 years, 100% of grads have gotten jobs. So.
Oh, great. Then
yeah.
I think the information on the website needs to be updated then.
Yeah.
Just chiming in.
Somebody asked about, so transcripts. It is mandatory for the course by course evaluation to be done before you can receive an admissions offer. Your application will not go to the admissions committee without the course by course evaluation for an international school. If you went to school in the US, then we can take an unofficial transcript. But if you went to school outside of the US, then yes, we have to receive that course by course evaluation.
Right.
Valerie?
Do you have any more questions?
Hello, thank you very much, Michael. My question is about consulting, those who are interested in consulting. What opportunities does Carey Business School provide for people who are interested in that, with regards to the courses that are offered and then the extracurricular activities?
Sure. So by industry, about 13% of our students go into consulting. That's number 2 behind healthcare and technology, which are tied at 29%. Or I'm sorry, number 3, finance is 16%. And then in functional area, I think consulting is 13%. No, it's 13% by industry, sorry, and then 10% if you go by functional area. You can see our stats for the full-time MBA at this website. So a lot of our students are interested in consulting. They've gone to places like all the big consulting companies like McKinsey, places like that, and we've had a good number of students come from consulting and come into our MBA. Consulting is a big umbrella. We have students interested in general management consulting in specific industries, particularly healthcare, and then small boutique consulting as well. There's some interesting small boutique healthcare consulting companies right here in Baltimore. Sage Consultants comes to mind. So it's a pretty good, pretty well represented with our students and our graduates if you're interested in consulting. And our career development office, of course, is and the career coaches therein are very tied into that to help students who are interested in the consulting area. Especially consulting has very interesting job interview process. They do cases as part of the interview process, case interviews. It's sort of like mini case competitions as part of the interview process. It's very unusual way of doing interviews, and they prepare you for that.
Thank you so much, Michael.
And you see Ola's comment in the chat about the consulting club.
Okay, I just saw it. Thank you so much, Michael and Ola.
And of course, as you guys have questions in the future, I'm here to help. This is my email. Oh, sorry, I'm in private chat with someone. Let me move out of that. Someone said thank you. This is my email. It's just my initials, very easy.
Thank you for this. Thank you for your time, Michael. Thank you.
Of course.
Um,
Any questions we missed? I know that this was scrolling by.
just before we continue, everyone, please, can you don't forget to fill out the application form to get fee waivers. Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, let me explain real quick how I do fee waivers. Happy to give fee waivers. What happens is when you are at the end of your application and you think it's complete, you just email me and remind me, say your application is complete, that we did this session with City of Lane. And then I do a real quick review of your application and make sure it's complete. And if everything's in order, then I waive the fee behind the scenes and let you know it's okay to go ahead and submit the application without paying the fee. And hopefully we'll have interactions before that as well, since we've technically met through this wonderful session.
Great. Thank you so much for having this session, Michael. Thank you, Ola.
Anytime.
Ola, we're wondering if you'll be able to stay back for like a few minutes to, answer some questions, because we know that some people might be shy to ask Michael some questions because he's here, as the former admissions officer. So would you be available for about 15 minutes?
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us, Michael. We are not chasing you. We just know some people might have some questions they might not want to ask you. And if you can